Hey guys, it's Mark with a new book to share. This book is called The Golden Age of Zen by John C.H. Wu. And the subtitle is The Classic Work on the Foundation of Zen Philosophy. And interestingly, this book has an introduction by Thomas Merton. You'll probably hear a lot about him because he was a Christian monk, and yet he also studied Zen quite extensively. So let's see, what else can I tell you while I'm walking? I'm walking to the library. I'm going to read the back cover. John C.H. Wu's classic work has long been the primary source for understanding the development of this hugely influential branch of Buddhism. Meaning, of course, Zen. And it's kind of funny when you get these books that were made in the 60s, especially. People didn't know much about Zen at that point, even though D.T. Suzuki had been here a long time before. Suzuki Roshi had only been here a little while, and Taizan Matsumi Roshi had only been here for a little while, because since like in the late 50s or something. So they still spoke about it in a way that today we find unusual, you know. So John C.H. Wu's classic work has long been the primary source for understanding the development of this hugely influential branch of Buddhism by students and teachers alike. And now, for the first time, it is available from an American publisher. The Golden Age of Zen explores the important period of religious history that followed the meeting of Buddhism with Chinese philosophies, most particularly Taoism. Wu looks first at the basic foundations of the Zen school of Zen, laid down in the 6th century by Bodhidharma. I'm trying not to interrupt myself, but Bodhidharma, as you'll hear from many places and many books, is the person who is credited with having brought Buddhism from India to China, kind of single-handedly. And some people say that, in Zen, they trace the heritage back to the Buddha. And Bodhidharma is necessarily then one of the major links. This book reminds us that there were 27 patriarchs in India of Buddhism, and then there were 6 or 7 patriarchs in China. Just people that headed the major movement of that day. But the book goes over that. So Wu looks first at the basic foundations of the school of Zen, laid down in the 6th century by Bodhidharma and in the 7th century by Wu Ning. That's kind of a different story, but we'll get to it. Then examines the magnificent flowering of the whole movement in the hands of successive generations of Chinese sages. And in this book, there's a lot of, they bring forth the idea that Zen didn't really get born that much from Buddhism, which is an unpopular position that I'm sure every Buddhist and Zen student would disagree with, but it's nice to see a major book disagreeing. Their claim in this book is that when Buddhism got to China, the influence of the Chinese on Buddhism was major and was what really created Zen. Kind of the mixture of Buddhism and Taoism, and some Confucianism there too. Many scholars on the history of Buddhism have valued this influential text, including the great 20th century writer on Zen, D.T. Suzuki. Now remember again, there's two Suzukis. There's D.T. Suzuki, who was a writer of books about Zen, studied Zen, did not have a formal Dharma transmission. And then there's Suzuki Roshi, of course, who was, a Dharma heir of the founder of Soto School of Zen. Suzuki Roshi came to the United States in the 50s and began Soto Zen in the United States. So D.T. Suzuki admired this book through its scholarship and felt that its central insights were not only important for the study of Buddhism, but even hit upon the very essence of all religious experience. Now again, Thomas Merton writes the foreword. Thomas Merton provides a helpful introduction for Western readers with his essay, A Christian Looks at Zen. And I read 14 pages of the 17 pages of that introduction. Pretty heavy duty. Merton is always spot on. He's a genius, basically. So I'll try to share as much of that as I can without reading the whole book to you, obviously, right? Dr. John C.H. Wu Ching Hsing, was born in Ningbo, China in 1899, and was a highly respected jurist, philosopher, and scholar, the principal author of the Constitution of Nationalist China. Wu served as an ambassador to the Vatican and as a judge in China and at The Hague. His work on the religions of the world, he worked closely with both Thomas Merton and the 20th century authority on Zen, D.T. Suzuki. His English version of the Tao Te Ching has long been one of the most popular translations of that text. So there you have it. The way they talked about this in the beginning, I thought the book was a lot older than it is. Apparently it was published in the 1960s, but if they told me it was much, much earlier, I wouldn't have been a bit surprised. So, here's the title page, which I'm going to try to get into the light enough that you can see. I thought about doing this for a few days, and I just didn't quite know how to go about doing it. Thought about sitting down somewhere, and that didn't seem right. Obviously, I got it from the Sunnyvale Public Library, so you can get this book lots of places. Okay, the public library is 294.3927, and then W on the next line. So, alright, when I stop and start again, these clips should be a certain length, not too long, not too short. So, be back.